wife's in the other room, probably wondering, like, why is he yelling about 50 Cent gets rich or die trying? And there's just weird noises coming from that room. A quick preface, I have filmed this intro and I filmed this video multiple times. And one of my issues that I've come to fruition with is that I am bad at streamlining information. I love to ramble, and I love to think tank, and I love discussion. So let's get down to brass tacks. Because I love movies and I love video games and I'm passionate about some of these things, if you guys and gals would love or would enjoy a longer critique, analysis, retrospective of any of the content that I'm creating, whether it be from the watch list, whether it be just an idea of like, oh, what are your top 5 favorite films and why? And why do you like Charlie Chaplin films? I would love to sit back down in this chair, get behind this microphone, turn that camera on, and make that content. That is actually why I made this channel to begin with. And nothing would make me happier than like you guys watching it. And I appreciate you clicking on this video and watching the watch list, because that's one of the things that I wanted to do, was create an avenue for people to recommend things and get ideas across for, different films, different movies, different documentaries, different TV shows that everybody likes, and kind of mix it all together. So if you guys have any recommendations or would like me to do a longer formed analysis of any of the films I'm talking about or a topic in general, please sound off down below. Send me a DM on Instagram. Send me a letter. I don't care. I would love to make that type of content, but I just want to make sure that I've got an audience for it. That being said, let's get into the watch list. Here comes 2. Welcome everybody to the first episode of the watch list for January 2022. I'm your host, Mr. Eric Jenkins. Of course you clicked on the video, so you know that already. Let's get into it. The watch list is a series that I wanted to start to kind of, get the ball rolling, get some recommendations out there, spread some knowledge about some films and TV shows, and, down in the comments below, also start a discussion of what you guys think about some of these films, some of these TV shows, some of these documentaries. How weird is Eric for liking this kind of stuff? I don't care. Let's have fun with it. Let's, give some recommendations out, and let's get started. So every month I'm going to release one of these videos, and then at the end of the year, in December, I'm going to do a tier list of all of the films I loved and hated, and I'm going to put them all up, boop, 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 boom, in a tier list, one of those things that the popular YouTubers do. Same with the documentaries and same with the TV shows. I'm going to do all those tier lists. Going to either be live streamed, it's going to be a pre-recorded video. I don't know. When we get there, we get there. But let's jump into this with our first documentary and only documentary, which is a Tubi original from 2021, Fresh Meat, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Nothing else really to say about this. You had some great talking heads that share information about Jeffrey Dahmer. For those who don't know, Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer that also cannibalized people in the Milwaukee area during the 80s and 90s. And there are some content creators, such as the Last Podcast on the Left gentleman, as well as Savannah Brimer from the Killer Instinct podcast, that kind of, give some light on Jeffrey Dahmer's adolescence to his murder in jail. Like just a bunch of fun facts and tidbits. But you also get some insight on the actual Milwaukee life that Dahmer was living from 2 different people. One of them was the neighbor, which I thought was very interesting that they got the neighbor to interview for this documentary. So he
smelled some stank. He smelled something.
Because there was some rotting people in that apartment. And then in addition to that, you also have a patron to a few of the Milwaukee gay bars. And this person actually introduced Dahmer to one of his victims. Said, hey, go talk, this is this is Jeffrey Dahmer. You guys should hook up. And he went missing like 2 weeks later. So crazy to think about that. And the interviewing process between that was very emotional, which kind of, you don't get that. Usually it's kind of stale. You get the forensic guys in there and they're, white suits and very, he had this wrong with his central lobe and he had some trauma from his childhood. No. This was some deep stuff, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to recommend this if you're a true crime / serial killer documentary and chill kind of person. If you don't like true crime stuff, stay away from it. But if you enjoy it, I'd recommend it. And Tubi's free, so you just have to watch a couple ads, and there's another streaming service you can kind of click through and scroll through, just like Amazon and Netflix and Hulu and all that stuff. So now we're going to get into the films. And one of the things that I've wanted to do this year was kind of expand my horizons a little bit. Not just watch modern films from, North America, but to, watch some stuff from over the pond and over the Pacific pond and back in time and when color wasn't a thing. So we got a good mix of stuff. And what better way to do that than talk about a couple Criterion joints in here. I just recently started collecting Criterion films. So there's going to be a lot of artsy films in here. A lot of foreign films, some black and white silent films. So buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Take that with what you will, and let's get into the first film, which is a 1928 silent era comedy featuring my boy Charlie Chaplin with The Circus. And what better scene or setting to put the Tramp in than a place with animals, clownery, high-flying stunts, then the big top, the circus. The Tramp gets, asked to work a job after running into the big top and, causing a scene, and the patrons loved it. They hire him as a clown, but he can't be funny on purpose. Like, he can't do the staged antics. He has to be funny accidentally. So they end up, this person's running around chasing him, and then he slips and he does all these things. Very, very great slapstick humor, very typical Chaplin. If you're looking to get into Chaplin films, this is a good recommendation, a good start. This and The Gold Rush are probably like the two that I would recommend. For some reason, I never saw this film. I don't know why. I think it's just one that kind of just like flew under the radar for me. But I'm glad I watched it this year. This is a good recommendation if you're looking to get into silent films, and it's short. It's 71 minutes. I think it could have been shorter, to be honest. It could have been an actual Chaplin short, but United Artists got to get that money, back in the day. So they made a feature-length film. But I recommend this if you're looking to get into a nice, silent era comedy. Staying with that trend, we have a Harold Lloyd film from 1923, which is Safety Last. One of the more iconic scenes from this film is him hanging from the clock, and it's moving. The hands are moving. Which has been utilized in a lot of films, and there's a huge homage to, I think there's like 2 or 3 of them in Back to the Future. Really great choreography for the stunts. The last 15-20 minutes is excellent. There's a scene where he has to get to work, and he is moving between different cars in the beginning, different vehicles, and it's excellently done. However, the characters in this film suck. I did not like them at all. Lloyd usually plays the everyman, the average Joe, the Joe somebody, and he does it very well. However, the development of the characters, he's a liar, he gets people into trouble, and you feel bad for the roommate, because the roommate gets crapped on the most in this film, and he almost gets arrested and or dies. And then his girlfriend is kind of a jerk, and his boss is a big jerk, and the drunk is a jerk. Everyone's a jerk in this film, and it kind of turned me off from it. Is this going to be a movie I'm going to watch again? Maybe in the future, but it's not one I'm going to be actively thinking about. The special features are probably really good. I will crack into those. And Lloyd's films are really good regardless. Like, they have great choreography, which is one of the big elements for slapstick humor. This film just didn't do it for me, though, unfortunately. Still a good film if you want to watch it. It's only 70 minutes long. So if you're looking to get into silent era and you've got, you want a good recommendation, I would go Chaplin over this film, like The Circus, but it's still a good film. If you haven't seen it, I would, just watch it. Just check it off your list. That being said, we have 1988's John Carpenter's They Live. This is a movie I'm going to recommend to everybody. Why? Because it's freaking cool. The Maniac.
Oh, wait. You know what? The Maniac loves you. Even with your... Wait!
I mean, Roddy Piper finds a pair of glasses. When he puts them on, everything's gray. And he reads the sign over there and it says obey. And then he takes them off and everything's normal. Puts them back on and it says consume, reproduce. And then he looks over here and there's a lady and she's an alien. So it's got some weird elements of sci-fi in there, and it's cheesy enough to... The acting's super cheesy, and it's cheesy enough to work. One of the greatest choreographed fight scenes of all time is in this film. One of the greatest lines ever muttered is in this film.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
In addition, you have some great themes such as anti-Reagan economics, mass media consumption, and subliminal messaging within mass media, and corruption of the hierarchy. It's a really great film, especially if you're like that angsty teenager that we're actually going to talk about angsty teenagers in a moment. Angsty teenager that's like anti-establishment. If you've seen and gone to Azumi's in the past 10 years, you've seen the Andre the Giant stickers that say obey. There you go. You're welcome. Highly recommend this. Not even if you're not a sci-fi fan, just watch it. It is wonderfully fun sci-fi comedy cheese. It is excellent. And I'm saying cheese in the best way possible because the acting's not that great. The fight scene is excellent. The gun play is over the top. It's over the top, but it's fun. And it's a great film. So going into the punk rock lifestyle, we have 1984's Repo Man, directed by Alexander Cox, starring the one and only Coach Bombay of the Mighty Ducks. Emilio Estevez himself plays Otto, a white suburban punk who gets upset, leaves home, and starts working as a repo man. He finds out he's good at taking people's cars and starts working as a repo man. And in addition to that, there's a Malibu that's weirdly making its way into town, and every time it gets stopped, they open the trunk and people get obliterated. When I first heard about this film, I was young, and a substitute teacher actually recommended me this and SLC Punk. And I watched SLC Punk first, or like back then. And I'm actually curious why there's no Criterion SLC Punk release, but that's a topic for a different day. Picked this up finally, haven't really thought about it since, and then watched the trailer for it, and I was like, what is this? It is a B movie in all the best ways possible. And there's actually some weird kind of like anti-establishment messaging in there. Emilio Estevez's character is a repo man, and all the things that the punks are doing are stealing, and he's basically stealing back items, but he's stealing it back from and giving it, or stealing it from people and giving it to the man, the insurance company, the banks, the car salesman. He's going from a denim vest wearing, PBR drinking punk to suit and tie. It's weird. Effects in this are very, very 80s, but it's awesome. It's aged very well. I will recommend this if you enjoy 80s sci-fi films. It's not anything, special effects wise that's excellent, but it's got a great story. It's a pretty easy watch, 92 minutes. It's a good recommendation for me if you're into this type of stuff. Watch the trailer first so you kind of know what you're getting yourself into if you're looking to get into this one. But it's got some good dialogue in there too, so got some good substance in there. Next up, we have Rat Race. I mean, Stanley Kramer's It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. 1963, over the top, and I'm emphasizing over the top, comedy. Excellent. Highly recommend. This is like the if you're going to watch a comedy out of all these movies, watch this one. Film starts out with a car erratically moving in and out of traffic in the cliffs of California, passes a couple motorists, and ends up flying, and literally flying off the cliff and crashing for like 30 seconds. Dude gets ejected from the seat. Motorists stop by, see if he's okay, and he mutters $350,000 under a giant W in the state park. Dies. Police come. What did he say? Well, snitches get stitches. They don't squeal. They don't say anything. They haul him off. Everyone goes on their merry way, or so they think. They end up trying to trick one another to try and see like if anyone's going to make the first move. They realize that nobody's moving. They stop. They pull over. They say, we're splitting the money even, Stevens. Let's work as a team and get there. Cool. Well, math doesn't exist with these people. And so it then becomes a free-for-all because they can't decide how to distribute the money evenly. And one thing leads to another, and people join different groups. More people get added to the mix, and there's over-the-top car chases. There's a guy who destroys a service station with his fists. It is crazy, over-the-top fun, and there's a dynamo cast, a lot of great cameos. There's a lot of very memorable areas, like this filming locations, that a lot of people actually will go and like film themselves at, like, oh, here we are at the W, stuff like that. And in addition to that, there's a cool kind of element to it where we as a audience are watching him or them, this car and this car and this car, but there's also police officers that are relaying this information back to the headquarters where a second story is evolving. So it's actually really, really interesting. Like I said, highly recommend this one. The only caveat is that it is very long, almost clocking in at 3 hours. There is an intermission halfway through, so I would recommend do what Allie and I did. We watched this, intermission came up, we'll recap tomorrow. We'll start with part 2. That's how we watched it. I usually watch movies late at night, so I didn't want to be up until 5 in the morning watching this movie because I
don't get much sleep to begin with.
So I would like to, sleep a little bit. But lastly, we have probably one of my favorite films of the year. I'm throwing my chips in now. 1947's Monsieur Verdu by Charlie Chaplin. Now, this is an interesting film for a few reasons. Charlie Chaplin plays a womanizer, a very smooth talking, which is ironic because he, didn't do he only did silent films up until 1940, and a couple parts in modern times have some dialogue, but we don't hear Charlie Chaplin's voice, and he's got a freaking killer voice. His enunciation, his vocabulary, the way he talks is wonderful. It's melting. And he plays a womanizer who marries women, gets their money, kills them, on to the next one. He becomes a Bluebeard, and he does this to keep his family, his actual family, afloat. Very strange story, but we are cheering for this man to not only lie to his wife and child, to perform acts of murder, to swindle old people out of money. We're cheering for this man. This is probably one of the first instances that I can think of that is an anti-hero film. We are cheering for this man to kill people, just like we've been cheering for Walter White. We've been cheering for Tony Soprano. We've been cheering for Dexter. We are cheering for Monsieur Verdu to do these heinous acts in Europe. And it's absolutely crazy. Like I said earlier, if you're looking to get into Chaplin films, start with The Circus, start with Gold Rush. I wouldn't recommend watching this first because it's like eating dessert, like a giant piece of cheesecake before your appetizers or your salad, because you're going to get full. The cheesecake's filling, and this is a lot to take in. Clocking in at over 2 hours. Very, very great film, but if you've never seen a Chaplin film, please do not start with this. If you've seen Chaplin films and think you're ready for a non-silent Chaplin film, definitely dive into this one because this one is a bumpy ride in the best way possible, of course. So that's going to do it for this month's watch list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As I said earlier, leave some comments down below, some recommendations, and if you want to hear some more in-depth analysis, please let me know down below. And that's going to do it for this episode. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe, like, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.